Hello and welcome to the Learn How to See Better podcast, the only podcast out there known to actually improve your vision the longer you listen. This is your host, Drew Davis, and I'm glad you've joined me here today. I can't wait to share some great information with you about how to improve your health, wealth, and relationships. So let's get right down to it, shall we? Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Drew, and I am back at you for another episode of the Learn How to See Better podcast. And today, one of the things I think is important to share with everyone is how I've learned to see better in the arena of limiting beliefs. Yes, but limiting beliefs. What you'll find, I think, is that we all have the beliefs that we currently, entertain, that we currently follow. All of our beliefs have been installed, believe it or not. We're all like a bunch of little computer systems running around, and our operating system, so to speak, is driven by really our belief system. When you think about your belief system and what it's based on the things that you've been taught up until this point that you are at in life right now. And if you tuned in the last episode, one of the things I was talking about was the concept of a mastermind, the idea that you want to be able to master your mind and how you can even participate in a mastermind group with other like-minded individuals that will help to level you up, that will help you grow, that will help you expand your thinking and your mindset so that you can go to places that you've never been before. And I'm not talking about physically, like, oh, I'm taking a trip to Italy. No, I mean like go to the places you've never been before. The place that takes you outside of your comfort zone, that takes you into your growth zone, that takes you to your genius zone. And when you're really just, trying to evaluate what your beliefs are, I mean, if you think about it, nobody's generally gonna question naturally their own beliefs. Why? Because they're beliefs. Like, oh, okay, I believe that that the earth is round and circles around the sun. That's a belief. So anything we believe tends to be true. If you don't think that way and you feel that the earth is flat and that everything revolves around the earth, that's another perspective, but that's a belief. And so the way you move through the world is going to be based on that belief, and you're naturally going to think it's right because you believe it. So why then do limiting beliefs matter? Because we as people will only pursue the things that we believe are possible to us, okay? The same way somebody might not choose to try something that they don't think that they are capable of. Many of us in life will have things that we don't see in ourselves. We'll have things that we never saw that we'd be able to do. So if you're venturing out into the land of the unknown, you don't have stats, you don't have data, you don't have experiences to support what's been seen. Or you don't have experience to support the outcome, the result from your efforts, from branching out, from taking a step. So when you have that limiting belief, it's like, well, I don't even think that's possible for me, so why even try? And overall, when you think about limiting beliefs, the question, may also get raised, well, how much does this really matter? Well, I think that for anyone who is attempting to grow mentally, is going to be forced to conquer some of their limiting beliefs or to reprogram or to unlearn some of those limiting beliefs. And, I'm actually attending an event this week, which is my own mastermind. I don't own it or run it, but it's the one I'm a part of, my tribe. It's for other entrepreneurs, and we get together quarterly to talk about our wins, our losses, our struggles, our newfound insights and expertise. And more often than not, I've found that whether it's an experienced entrepreneur or someone just getting started, we all have limiting beliefs about what's possible. And knowing that not everyone listening to this podcast might be an entrepreneur or might not be one yet, let's take this and put it in the context of a regular, a standard job. And I actually think back to when a buddy of mine were having a conversation about this, and we were talking about the idea of being able to make money outside of your job versus making more money inside your job, right? And if you are aligned with a vehicle to make money outside your job, there might be limits to that income. There might not be limits to that income, right? But one thing that we know and we believe is that, any given job is probably going to have some sort of beliefs associated with it. Case in point, let's say you have a computer science degree, right? You're good with technology. You're pretty savvy with new things that come out technology wise, and you just feel comfortable in that arena, right? That's kind of where you shine. Well, let's say, for the sake of argument, you might get a job making $100,000 a year, using your computer science degree, or whatever technical know-how that you have. Well, here's the thing: if I were to ask my buddy, and let's just say he was a computer major or whatever, and I would say, okay, so you make 100 grand a year, right? Yep. Okay, and you'll probably get raises along the way. Yep. Okay, is it reasonable to think that you might be making 105,000 in a year or two? Yep. Great. Is it reasonable to think you might be able to make 110,000 in a couple years, right? Keep working hard? Oh yeah, certainly. Great. Well, since now you're consistently getting raises, it's probably natural to think you could be making 150,000 anytime now, right? And it was a little pause, and I was like, yeah, I think so. And then it's like, okay, let's push this and see where this actually goes. All right, 155. Okay, I think I do it. 160. Okay, yeah, I think I can do it. And what you find is, all right, 185, 190, 195, 200. At a certain point, there was a choke spot, right? Like 228,000, and I'm not saying this number's not attainable for someone with this background. Work with me now. This is an example. But basically what happened in the course of that conversation is the person stopped believing that they could make more money than a certain amount with a certain degree or a certain occupation or a certain skill set. So he felt that with this, skill set in corporate America, you're not going to make, over $200,000 a year, right? And so what you find is that that's a limiting belief. And it's not to say that whatever job was actually going to pay him more, but because he didn't believe that more was possible, guess what? You're naturally not going to attempt that which you don't believe is possible for you, right? Let's inch over into the business arena. Let's say you make 100 grand a year again, all right, on your W-2 job. And let's say you found a business opportunity where you might be able to make 5,000 a month, okay? You do the math, 12 months at 60,000, okay? Is it that far-fetched to think in the business opportunity you can make 6,000 a month, 7,000 a month, 8,000 a month? Well, a lot of that's going to be driven by belief, right? How much can you do on one particular transaction, right? I thrive in the real estate space, right? How much money can you make on one deal? And, for some people, they might be able to make $1,000. Some people it's 10,000. Some people it's 100,000. And for others, it's even more than that. But what I found interesting was just that from a mentality standpoint, there are instances where even in a kind of higher level, high functioning, entrepreneur environment, there are still limiting beliefs that don't have to do with the skill set of the entrepreneur, but rather they have to do with the installed beliefs that they picked up somewhere along the way, usually in either their childhood or formative years, or it's something they picked up in their, their corporate experience, right? And so let's just say, you might do a real estate deal and make 5 grand on that deal, right? Well, the ability to make 10 grand on that same type of deal probably still exists. But if you're only feeling like your skill set, your know-how, your experience, whatever, only enables you to make 5,000 per deal, guess what? You will be stuck at that level, and you won't be able to graduate until you believe it's possible for you to graduate. Now, granted, I'm using business examples and money, and that's just one measure. You can take this from wealth, you can take it to health, you can take it to relationships, right? And so it's really so much about the mentality and how we must learn to unshackle ourselves from the chains of our mind, because all we are doing is building a wall. It's like we're building a jail cell inside your own head, right? It's kind of crazy to think, but whether it's business, health, or relationships, you see the same thing. I see skinny people that start working out and say, oh my gosh, I can't ever get big muscles, right? Well, as long as you believe that, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And I've seen people that are more on the plus side believe that, I've been struggling so long, I work out so hard, I'm just not able to get this weight off. Well, that's a belief, right? And all it takes is a different set of actions to be able to change that result. But before any of the actions, it's kind of like the be, do, and have I was talking about before, right? If you want to have certain things that successful people have, or healthy people have, or people with lots of love in their life, you must do what they do. But before any of that, before any of it, you must become that which you wish to have. You have to become the person that has money flowing easily to them. You must become the person that's attractive based on your personality and your inner character, that's going to draw that person that you're looking for as a significant other into your life, right? So it's so common to think, can't gain the weight, can't lose the weight, can't find Mr. Right, can't find Mrs. Right. Oh, my last relationship was this. I don't believe I'm going to find true love. And now that I'm X age, now that I'm this old, now that I've got this many kids, I'm not able to. Well, as long as you hold on. And the crazy part is people fight tooth and nail over some of these beliefs that are just hogwash. And it never ceases to amaze me. And now I'm drawing on experiences that are far outside of my mastermind experience, and it's like, those are closed doors. I'm not sharing anything, too specific about someone's scenario, but one common observation, even in myself, I'll go as far as to say, is that there are limiting beliefs that we all battle, that we all sometimes struggle with. Some people don't struggle with them because they don't, really strive to achieve much. So that's a little bit easier for them, believe it or not. But if you're a person trying to grow or aspire to be better, you will be forced to battle the demons of your mind, and to face those limiting beliefs, and to just acknowledge that they are that, limiting beliefs. You feel a certain way about, how you can perform athletically, or whatever the case may be. If you are not only placing yourself in a box based on those limiting beliefs, I am or I can't, right? If you're saying I am and then putting like this big limiting statement after it, cornered yourself in, boxed yourself in. Or I can't, or I've always, or I've never, like a lot of those hardcore defining words, stay away from those. They can be very dangerous. So it's just that acknowledgement. It's just that acknowledgement that limiting beliefs exist. And when you have the fortune to be able to be surrounded by individuals that can help you identify your limiting beliefs, that's part of the magic. It's learning how to see better. Like it starts with awareness. Awareness is the first step towards change. So if you're not even aware that there's an issue, guess what? You're probably not going to do much to do anything about the things in your life that you need to change. But what I found when I look at my own scenario and I think about the limiting beliefs and the instances that they've held me back, it's a lot like forgiveness. And I was saying that a few episodes back, how forgiveness is, it's how you heal your heart truly from pain. But it's a decision to start that healing process, right? So similarly here, if you have limiting beliefs and awareness of those, it is a decision that you are making to say, I am acknowledging this limiting belief in my world, and I'm going to take proactive steps to change it. It could be as simple as getting around different people, putting some new programming in your head, or starting to take physical actions that directly buck the trend of the limiting belief that you're thinking about. And so that's one of the things I want to make sure is very clear to anyone listening to this. And if you're facing your own limiting belief about how healthy you could be, how wealthy you could be, how much love you could have in your life, and the list goes on and on and on, any limiting belief you have about yourself can be addressed and confronted head on. And then once acknowledged, can be put on a plan to demolish that limiting belief, because you really want to remove the shackles from your mind so you can reach your full potential. Because as long as you're holding on to these limiting beliefs, guess what? They shackle your thinking. They block you from even considering what's truly possible. And for those that don't even dare to dream because of a belief that their dreams aren't valuable or that they would never be able to accomplish any of those grandiose things anyway, you can start to see it, I think. These are some of the pitfalls, because the mind and the brain is not meant to help you succeed. It's meant to keep you alive, right? It's more meant for survival. That's why fear will paralyze us so often. And fear, in a lot of cases, is driven by those limiting beliefs. Oh, it's risky to start a business. Oh, I don't want to go do that now, right? So if you allow those fears and limiting beliefs to run your life, guess what? You will see that your whole experience on this spinning rock is going to be limited by the beliefs that you have installed in your head, refused to unlearn, and allow to dominate and rule your life. And I would challenge everyone out there with this. You are more powerful than you think. You do have the capacity to change your mind and to state and declare with power and conviction that I shall no longer allow these limiting beliefs to shackle me and to chain my mind and to keep me from having the success I know is due and deserved, due to me and deserved by me. So if you can take stock of your own limiting beliefs, and if you don't think you have any, I would challenge you to test that a little bit, right? Ask yourself, in just those three categories, what do I think is the, most amazing relationship I could have, with someone else, like boyfriend, girlfriend, or whatever, husband, wife, right? Think about what that's like. Think about some of the characteristics, if you don't already have it, of course, right? If you're happily married, that's all lovely. Just take a moment for gratitude to think about what you have, right? But if you don't have it, if you don't think you have it, start to think about, what does, loving, healthy relationship look like? And then start to think, what would it be like if I had that, right? What would it be like if I were able to achieve my optimal health? What would it be like if I were able to, amass all the finances that I desire? If you can at least allow yourself to think, what would that be like, right? Even that subtle mental exercise is starting the process of challenging that limiting belief. Why? Not because you're directly addressing it head on, but because you're allowing kind of like a loophole to get created, like kind of like a little side door, back door type of deal, where if you can say, what would life be like if, then it's almost asking, how can I? Because you're creating a scenario where the limiting belief does not impede your experience. So if you can imagine what life would be like with better health, better wealth, better relationships, and you can start to conjure up those images in your brain and imagine what that's like, you can then have something a little bit more tangible, because thoughts are things that you can channel energy and attempt to hold on to and say, well, gosh, why wouldn't it? What would it be like? That would be really nice. But then ask that next question. Why can't I? Why not me? What if I could? How come I can't? What if I can? Have I ever tried? Right? Force yourself to get better answers by asking better questions. Have you ever questioned your own limiting beliefs? Rich people are evil and greedy. Okay, well, who taught you to think that way, right? People that are obese are just lazy. Well, who taught you to think like that, right? Because these are both opinions, and they're opinions are like, what, everyone's got one, right? But you take a couple of opinions, and I'm just throwing those out there. That's not me saying that, but what I am saying is, when you have opinions and you don't, if you just leave them unchecked, what you'll see is you might just be thinking on autopilot and just thinking based off thoughts that aren't yours. You're thinking based off beliefs that were installed into your head and begin to direct your thoughts. How scary is that? You've got programming installed that you didn't install, but it's running you. It's running the computer, which is you. And so if you're not running the way you want to be run, you need to put some new programming in. And that's even deinstalling or uninstalling, just like an app from your phone, uninstalling some of that, stinking thinking ware. Uninstall those programs that cause you to think in such a lackful fashion. So I could obviously go on quite a bit more about this, but as I identify my own limiting beliefs and do a better job of that, which can come from reflection, introspection, and whatnot, but as I see others express their limiting beliefs, I've become more motivated to, in a tactful way, of course, attempt to challenge those beliefs. If for nothing more than to help someone else recognize, is that viewpoint actually valid? Or is that a belief that's limiting me and it's just in my head? It's not even real. So, how many of you could do that? You guys could do that, right? You could take a situation, I'd imagine, and evaluate it and how you respond to it and say, okay, is there a limiting belief at work here, right? The next goal that you set. Okay, so you set a goal to, do this. Could you have set the goal to be, 10% more than that? Or did you not believe you could be? Some of it depends on what it is, right? All right, if your goal is a 4-minute mile and you run it in 3:59, fantastic. It's not necessarily about saying, could you run it in 3 minutes? But if you never believed you could run it in 4, right? You're not going to run it in 4. But once you believe you can break a 4-minute mile, and now that we've proven that it humanly can be done and it's regularly done now, it becomes a lot more tangible and a lot more possible. So for things that we look at in our lives where we have goals set or we're attempting to set goals or make a great proclamation of achievement, what if we could add 10% to whatever that is, right? Whatever that achievement level is. And evaluate our own thinking around the goal. If we set a goal and we say, okay, well, if I try and do 10% more, maybe it's, all right, I set a goal to 100 push-ups. Okay, if I set a goal to do 110, right? What does that do in my head around those beliefs? Does it make me think, oh, there's no way I could do 110 push-ups? That extra 10% would tell me that there's a limiting belief around performance there that should be questioned. Because, in that example, if you can do 100 push-ups, chances are you can do 110, right? You're really, really close. So I leave you all with that. Challenge your beliefs. Try to understand what they are. Ask yourself questions about the successes that you've had and the accomplishments, and ask yourself, does this best represent my finest performance, the best of my capabilities, or is there a little bit more in me? And do I believe that there's more in me to perform at even higher levels? Because part of growth comes from getting uncomfortable and pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone. So with limiting beliefs, it's a little bit more of a tricky project because you remember, these things were installed. We must challenge and overcome these beliefs every day. One of my mentors once said, every day I wake up with a choice to be rich or to be poor. And you know what? Some days I wake up and I've got that poor mentality. And this person recognizes that they have to deal with that and battle it out. But it is a daily decision. And so our beliefs don't just instantly die, but if you have the right epiphany, sometimes they can. So no spoiler alert to any young ones listening to this, but there was a time we all had certain beliefs and childhood characters, and there might have been one holiday where those beliefs got rocked and those beliefs quickly changed. But after you had an adjustment to what that belief was, it didn't stick around anymore. Okay, there's no Easter Bunny. All right, I guess I'm not thinking about the Easter Bunny anymore. So it's things that simple and basic can be real truth tellers, because once you identify them, again, awareness is the first step towards change. Once you identify them, you can start to take steps to just slay them. And that's what I want to see everyone out there do. Is that fair? I think we could all slay our limiting beliefs. As soon as we identify them, we can go to work to chopping those down. And then that will be one of the key pieces that not only help us learn how to see better, but also help us to unchain us from the shackles of our mind so that we can reach our true potential. With that, I want to thank everyone out there for listening to this. See what you can do today to take action on breaking through your own limiting beliefs, because once you break through them, guess what? You are now free to roam about the world and make the most out of your life without being encumbered by your own limiting mindset. Thanks, everyone. Well, all right. That was some great content, wasn't it? Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm glad you liked it. This is your host, Drew Davis, and I want to thank you for listening to the Learn How to See Better podcast today. And don't forget to subscribe and tune in for future episodes, and be sure to share with a friend if you are enjoying this content. Thanks, and see you next time.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.